Hello and welcome to the X Point YouTube channel. Today we have a match from the group stages of X Point Tournament 19. This match is between Juriaan and Illyas, both of whom are playing decks that feature little played Fallen Empires cards, so it should be a very interesting match. As always, if you want to skip the deck text and jump straight to the games, you can do so using the timestamps below. And as a refresher, X Points is an old school Magic variant that uses the Atlantic rule set and a point system where players can spend up to 10 points for the cards you see on the screen. So let's check out these two very interesting decks. First up, we have the deck of Juriaan. He calls his deck Orcish Mill because it features a combination of Orcish Spy and Millstone. So Orcish Spy is a card from the Fallen Empires. It's a 1/1, and you can tap it to look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's library. So Juriaan will use that to see what those cards are, and then if anything is too scary, he will use Millstone to remove them before his opponent even has a chance to draw them. So this is very much like using a Field of Dreams Millstone combo, except instead of blue for Field of Dreams, he's running red for the Orcish Spy. The plus side is that the Orcish Spy can also attack for 1 if he doesn't have a Millstone or doesn't need the Millstone. Juriaan is also planning to slow this game down. This is definitely a control deck. He has 4 Stone Rains, 4 copies of Fissure, 3 Mazes of Ith, 2 Icy Manipulators, all designed to tap or destroy his opponent's lands and creatures so that his opponent will just not be able to kill him in time. He also has sort of a standard removal package of 4 Lightning Bolts, 2 Shatters, 2 Fireballs. Because he's mono red, Juriaan can also run 2 Blood Moons in the main deck. And then if he's unable to mill his opponent out, he has 2 Siobhan Dragons that he can use to finish the game in short order. So I think plan A is obviously milling his opponent out or using Wheel of Fortune to make him draw the last cards in his deck, and if that doesn't work, he has Dragons and then a single Atog to kind of get through on the damage front. For his points, Juriaan has used 3 for 3 copies of Mazes of Ith, 3 for a Soul Ring, 2 for Mizra's Factory, and then 2 for Wheel of Fortune. So kind of a standard point breakdown, though not all usually in the same deck. So we'll see if this very unique strategy can overcome the deck of Illyas, who is also playing a unique strategy. Okay, here's the deck of Illyas. He's playing a Thrulls deck featuring many cards from the Fallen Empires. So he has sort of a contingent of Thrall foot soldiers in Armor Thrall, Basil Thrall, and Mindstab Thrall. He also has Breeding Pit, which makes a 0/1 Thrall token each turn. And then he has cards to pump up those Thralls. So Thrall Champion gives each of his Thralls +1/+1. He can also tap the Thrall Champion to take control of one of his opponent's Thralls, though that is unlikely to come up in this match or, frankly, any match, but it's an interesting card. And then he also has 3 Bad Moons, which will pump all of his black creatures. The Thralls all happen to be black in this set, so he can get some quite large Thralls if he has both champions and all 3 Bad Moons on the board. He has a couple of cards, too, that take advantage of Thralls. So Ebon Praetor is a 5/5 first strike trampler for 6, but each upkeep, you either have to put a -2/-2 counter on it or sacrifice a creature. And if you sacrifice a Thrall, you get to put a +1/+0 counter on the Praetor. So if he's able to sack his Thrall token from the Breeding Pit, that Ebon Praetor will just grow and grow and grow. He also has 2 Soul Exchanges, which is like a quasi-animate dead. So Soul Exchange costs 2 black, and you exile a creature, and then you get to get a creature from your graveyard and put it into play. If you sacrifice a Thrall in this manner, the creature comes back with a +2/+2 counter. So he can take one of his 0/1 Thrall tokens and then cash it in via Soul Exchange for an even bigger Thrall, or perhaps a bigger Sender Vampire, something of the like. The very interesting interaction is between Soul Exchange and Triskelion. So he has 1 Triskelion, which comes in with 3 +1/+1 counters. If he reanimates the Triskelion using Soul Exchange, the Trike actually does not come back with 2 additional +1/+1 counters. It comes back with 3 +1/+1 counters and a +2/+2 counter, which you cannot actually remove to damage your opponent. So that is a very interesting interaction. We'll see if that comes up. The rest of his deck is just rounded out with normal black cards, Will of the Wisp, Nivernal's Disc, some Dark Ritual, some Terror, a Sinkhole, sort of the usual mono black players. Illyas has spent his points on 2 Mazes of Ith, 2 Mishra's Factories, Soul Ring, and a Demonic Tutor, presumably to go get his Ebon Praetor or a Thrull Champion. This deck, I have never seen anything like it in X-Point or in Old School, and I had to look up a lot of these cards. So we'll see if Illyas' creativity can punch through Juriaan's control deck. Let's go to the match. Okay, it's time for game number 1. Juriaan's on the left with his Orcish Mill. Illyas starts off with the turn 1 Soul Ring on the right, playing mono black Thrulls. Juriaan has a Strip Mine for the swamp, so Illyas won't be able to fire out the gate there. He does have a Thrull Wizard, which is a 1/1 Thrull. It counters a black spell unless the opponent plays an additional black or 3 mana. Juriaan is looking it up. Illyas trying to be helpful, waving it in front of the camera. Juriaan doesn't play any black cards, so the ability won't be relevant, but it's still a 1/1 beater. So Juriaan just with a mountain and pass. Illyas with a Bad Moon, so now he's a 2/2 beater. And Juriaan falls to 18. Let's see if he can stop a 2/2 Thrull. There's a Shatter on the Soul Ring that will prevent Illyas from casting a Vampire or Thrull Champion next turn. Illyas with a Maze of Ith and swings in for 2 more. Juriaan falls to 16. Alright, Juriaan with his own Maze of Ith, effectively stopping that Thrull, Wizard or not, for the time being. And Illyas just has to pass. No 4th land, no 3rd swamp. Let's see if Juriaan can take advantage of Illyas' stumble. There's a Millstone, the mill part of the Orcish Mill, and immediately sets to work on Illyas' library. 2 cards look like lands in the graveyard. Illyas still without another swamp, and a Fissure on one of Illyas' 2 swamps sets him back even more. Illyas rips a swamp off the top, but puts him right back where he was last turn. Can't attack through the maze, can't cast spells with just 2 swamps. Juriaan's going to mill for 2. And play an Atog, which Illyas is going to immediately Terror, even though he had a maze to keep it at bay, just with the amount of land destruction Juriaan was playing. There's another Fissure. Probably a good idea to Terror the Atog while you can. Illyas down to 1 swamp. There's a Dark Ritual, though. It's the beauty of playing black. And he casts a Soul Exchange, trading in his Thrull Wizard for a Mindstab Thrull, which, thanks to the counter and the Bad Moon, is now 5/5 Mindstab Thrull. But Juriaan still has that Maze of Ith. And there's a Felden's Cane from Illyas. So, the 1 player in the tournament playing Felden's Cane gets paired up against the 1 player in the tournament playing Millstone. Only in X-Points, kids. Only in X-Points. There's another Mill from Juriaan. Luckily, Felden's Cane exiles itself, so we won't have like an infinite loop here. Now, Illyas is not attacking with the Thrull, presumably because it can get mazed and he won't deal any damage. He could still sacrifice the Thrull because it would be unblocked, but I'm not sure that cards in hand is his particular problem. Like, Juriaan's cards in hand doesn't really matter at this point. And Illyas, after getting his Mindstep Thrull Fireball, has had enough and wants to shuffle up all the cards that have been milled. I think there's an argument to waiting on that, but maybe not. Stone Rain for Juriaan, another Millstone. There's another Maze of Ith for Illyas, which he does not need. It's got to be very frustrating to sit there with just 1 swamp. It's milled again. And a Fissure on the last swamp. I don't think Illyas will be casting any spells anytime soon. This is exactly what Juriaan wants to do. Now he's got his Orcish Spy, so he can be selective with what he mills. Although with Illyas only having 2 lands, I don't think it matters. There's 3 cards for him to look at, though. And Juriaan's just going to mill the top 2 anyway. So this game looks relatively locked up for Juriaan. It would take somewhat of a miracle. some Mind Stab Throw. Just a 3/3 this time. Could still attack to make Juriaan discard some cards, but it looks like he only has 1 or 2 left in hand anyway, so there's the top 3. Looks like Ritual, Terror, Swamp. Juriaan decides the Terror and the Swamp are scary enough to mill away. Yeah, with his Orcish Spy Millstone combo, his Maze of Ith, his massive land destruction. Oh, Illyas just had a Dark Ritual into a Thrull Champion. And a little crazy jump cut there. That was in the original recording. That was not in this. I didn't do that. I don't know exactly what happened. That's how it got sent to me. So we'll just play it out. And it happened again. It's hard to cast a game that jumps around like that, but it's okay. What happened in the middle there, the Mind Stab Throw attacks got blocked by a factory, and then the desert did the final point of damage to it. It's unclear why Juriaan just didn't maze it, but... Alright, we have a Thrull Champion and an Armor Thrull on the battlefield for Illyas. So the Armor Thrull will be a 2/4. Thrull Champion is a 1/1 or a 2/2. But Juriaan still has that Maze of Ith, and he still have an active Orcish Spy Millstone combo. I do not think Illyas is going to be able to break through. They're counting up the power and toughness, yeah, which signaled a fireball, since he really cared about the toughness of both creatures. There's another Stone Rain. So Illyas is going to be unable to cast any of his meaningful spells here. Another little jump cut there. And a second Millstone. So Juriaan is getting things going. Uses his Orcish Spy to keep any dangerous cards away from Illyas' hand. I assume, since we can't see them very well, that Illyas is calling them out. There's a second Orcish Spy, so he could look at one for each Millstone, right? So he can look at 3, pick 2 that he wants, look at 3 more, look at 2 that he wants. There's a Breeding Pit, so Illyas can now make a 1/2 Thrull every turn. Unfortunately, he only has about, 10 cards left in his library, and Juriaan has 2 Millstones. So I don't think the Breeding Pit is going to be fast enough here. The Orcish Spies are cute, but seem a little unnecessary at this point. And this is maybe where Illyas is regretting wasting his Felden's Cane earlier. So he gets another Thrull token there, but mills the top, what I assume will be 4 cards from his library here. Let's see. Counting the cards in his library, very few left. He needs to deal 16 points. Attacks with everybody. Juriaan mazes the Armor Thrull, takes 2, falls to 14. Juriaan mills 2 more cards. There's another Thrull Champion. That would have been helpful. Juriaan just mills again. And swings in with an even bigger team. Mazes one of the Thrulls. Chump blocks another Thrull, takes 3, falls to 11. Illyas counting the cards in his library. It's less than 7. Juriaan has a Wheel of Fortune to take down game number 1. Okay, game number 2. Illyas starts out with just a Swamp. See if he can put up a little better fight here. Juriaan has a turn 1 Mana Vault. And Illyas has a turn 2 Basil Thrull, which he can sack for 2 mana. Instead, he just attacks for 1, bringing Juriaan down to 19. Let's see if Juriaan has like a turn 3 Shivan Dragon or something. No, he just plays a Nevernal's Disc. So using the Mana Vault to cast an early disc, just like we talked about in the deck tech. Takes 1 from the Basil Thrull, and then has to decide. He is going to pop the disc in his upkeep just to get rid of Pestilence from Illyas and the Basil Thrull, killing his own Mana Vault in the process. It's a very aggressive use of the disc, but it allows him to play a Millstone without worrying about disking it himself. Illyas has a Factory and an Armored Thrull, which is a 1/3. You can sack it to put a +1/+3 counter on another creature. And Juriaan's getting his mill plan going. There's a Bad Moon from Illyas, so Thrill's now 2/4. And in response, Juriaan has a Lightning Bolt on the Thrull in response to the Bad Moon. And so Illyas, in a really heads-up play here, is going to animate his Factory, try to put the +1/+3 counter on it. Turns out it doesn't matter because Juriaan has a second bolt for the Factory, and Illyas is back to no creatures. So this is looking eerily similar to the last game, only this time Illyas has more lands. But Juriaan has a double Millstone going, working his way through Illyas' library. We'll see if Illyas can get some creatures on the board. There's a Mindstab Thrull. Doesn't look like Juriaan has any cards in hand, so just a 3/3 Thrull will be getting in there for damage. And he mills 4 cards. 4 more cards again, a Will-o'-the-Wisp, which though it's a 0/1, can actually attack, especially now with the Bad Moon out. So Illyas can get in there for 1 at least in the air. Juriaan just with the land and is going to Millstone twice. Looks like a couple of lands. It's a Dark Ritual. Illyas into a Triskelion. And then Illyas is taking a break. Oh, it's going to get a dice. Okay. So he has 3 counters on the trike. And we'll see what he can do. Illyas is going to swing in for 1 in the air. Juriaan's going to desert it, but Illyas will regenerate, and Juriaan will take 1, fall to 17. Still a long way to go for Illyas. Juriaan milling him for a turn. Oh, there's the Felden's Cane in the graveyard. Illyas. Oh, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Another one of those weird jump cuts that just happened. I'm going to assume nothing happened here. Illyas shoots the Atog for 2, I think. And Juriaan sacks a Felwar Stone. I'm sure Illyas was hoping he would sack a Millstone. Swings in with the Mindstab Thrull. Which, assuming this was the same turn, and it's hard to tell with the jump cuts, the Mindstab Thrull also should have died because the Atog would have been a 3/4. But I could be missing something, and that jump cut, it could be a separate turn. Juriaan with a disc, and then an Icy Manipulator into the disc. It's interesting for Juriaan because Illyas is building up quite the board. However, Juriaan's win condition is his Millstones, 2 of which he'd have to destroy with the disc. I do think Illyas has enough creatures, though, that Juriaan's going to be priced into popping that disc after milling Illyas for 4 more cards. And I think on the next attack step, we'll see the disc go. I don't know why I played the Icy before. Perhaps he's afraid of discard out of mono black. That's the thing you fear the most usually, so better to have that Icy go down on your own terms. And Juriaan does pop the disc at the next combat step, losing all of his artifacts, while Illyas keeps a Will-o'-the-Wisp and then plays a Breeding Pit. So he's going to make 0/1 Thrulls. His Bad Moon already went to the graveyard. But presumably he has some more Bad Moons or Thrull Champion that will make those 0/1s relevant. Juriaan is down to 7 after several attacks from Illyas. So a couple of Thrulls, a Bad Moon, a Thrull Champion, and this could be Illyas' game. His library is looking thin, but Juriaan is not milling him currently, so. Sessenger from Illyas. It's a card that can get in. Juriaan has not found a maze yet. But he has found a fireball, so that Sender's going to hit the graveyard. And we're going to randomly jump cut to something else having happened. I do not know what happened. There's a Shivan Dragon from Juriaan. It's going to be stopped by 2 Will-o'-the-Wisps, though. This dragon not as scary as it usually is. And there's a Bad Moon from Illyas. Off the top, he swings in with 9 creatures. Juriaan can only block 1 of them, so he'll take at least 8 here. Let's see if he has Lightning Bolt or anything. He has a Fissure for the Vampire. Does he have a Lightning Bolt? He does not. So a Bad Moon off the top for Illyas gives him the win off of some 0-1 Thrulls, and it's on to game number 3. Okay, game number 3. Juriaan will be on the play. Starts with the tapped Dwarven Runes. A lot of Fallen Empires cards in this match. Illyas just has a Swamp and pass. Juriaan plays a Desert and passes back. Illyas with a Basil Throll that's immediately met with a Lightning Bolt. So Illyas won't be getting off a turn 3 Sender Vampire or Thrull Champion. It's another Mountain for Juriaan and a Millstone. So he's got his plan. A Swamp for Illyas and a Mindstab Thrull. This time Juriaan doesn't currently have a Maze, or not that the Maze would do anything, but he doesn't have a blocker for that Thrull. Does he have an answer? He does in a Earthquake for 3, so both players will fall to 17. Mindstab Thrull will be put in the graveyard, and Juriaan's hand is, for the moment, protected. It's another Basil Thrull, which can sack for 2 black mana, though Illyas has 4 swamps, so not as necessary as it would have been in the previous game. Juriaan's just going to mill Illyas for 2. Getting Demonic Tutor, which could have fetched a Bad Moon and sped up the clock. Oh, Juriaan sacks the Basil Throll for 2 black mana and plays a Trike. Follows it up with a Will-o'-the-Wisp. So he taps out. He has no regeneration mana up, but he does have a Trike and a Will-o'-the-Wisp. Let's see if Juriaan can find some answers here. He's got a Bolt for the Will-o'-the-Wisp, so that's fair. Illyas was taking a gamble. And Juriaan just has a Mill. So that Trike's going to get in and do some damage. I don't understand what happened there. There's another jump cut. Again, those are in the original recording. But it looks like basically Illyas came in and swang from Kentucky, y'all. Illyas, swings in for 4. Juriaan's at 13. 6 mana. Taps 5 of them for a Sender Vampire. And comes in for 4 more with the Trike. So Juriaan is at 9. I don't know why he sacked his Dwarven Runes. We missed that part of the action. But he plays another Desert. He needs an answer to Illyas's 2 4/4 creatures, or he is dead next turn. And he plays the Desert but takes it back so that he can gamble on a wheel. Juriaan gambles with the Wheel of Fortune, seeing if he has anything in his deck that can reset Illyas's board. Remember, this is X points, so there's no, wheel into balance or boxes or Time Walk, Ancestral. Yeah, there's nothing in Juriaan's deck that he could draw. And that's it. So Illyas takes the match with his Thrull deck. Have to say, it is super awesome to see a deck full of Thrulls being played in the first place. That is exactly my cup of tea. But to see it take down a match in a tournament is even more awesome. So congrats to Illyas, and I hope you keep playing some weird and spicy decks. And Juriaan, your deck was also incredibly spicy with the Orcish Spy and the Millstone. Just wasn't quite fast enough this week, but thank you for sending in the games. And I have to say, it was incredible to see that Bad Moon in Game 2 with a board full of 0-1 Thrulls. And just for the Thrulls to grow magically overnight, take down the match. In the coming weeks, we have one more match from the group stages of X-Point 19, which will feature another spicy Enchantress brew. And then we have a match from the top 4 of this tournament to close out our X-Point 19 coverage. If you would like more information about X-Points, head over to our website, xpointoldschool.com, where you can find information about the rule set as well as the monthly tournament series we run on Talaria. You also can find links to our Facebook and Discord page. And so if you would like to have your games featured on this channel, head over to our Facebook and Discord, get in touch with the media team. We'd love to have more decks featured and more players, especially if you're playing some spicy brews like we saw today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, thanks for watching.